Among the popular topics that Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris discussed, Grady Jarrett was at the forefront of the conversation. And Terry Fontenot said he is not untouchable, which means the Falcons are going to explore negotiations with other teams if they cannot rework. So the way that I look at it is, first, they're going to try to get a restructure in. Maybe it's an outright restructure if he's willing to take a pay cut. I don't think that's very probable, but then a short-term extension could also be on the table for him. But if he doesn't oblige to either of those, he is going to be traded in my mind.
I mean, I saw respected Falcons pundits, maybe they weren't beat writers, talking about, and Raheem Morris said it, that Grady Jarrett is the heart and soul in Atlanta. And to a certain extent, his impact, it goes well beyond the box score. And you can't, calculate that impact. And that is true. But to a certain extent, this is a business. And it is a what have you done for me lately kind of a business. And what has Grady Jarrett done for us lately is a whole lot of nothing. Certainly not enough to be costing over $20 million against the salary cap. $20 million plus for an interior defensive tackle. You better be one of the most disruptive players in the game. And while he will be removed one more year from that ACL, his best days are behind him. Like, defensive tackles don't suddenly have a career resurgence following an ACL on the wrong side of 30 years old. Now, does that mean he doesn't have some good ball left in him? No, he certainly might, especially, like I said, 1 year removed. But for Falcons fans to get caught in their feelings, for Raheem Morris to start already leaning on the emotional side of this debate, tells me they are once again liable to make that decision that Arthur Blank has been notorious for, excuse me, when it comes to Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, other guys, where they think of them like kids, like we're friends, we're family, and that's a good thing and all, except for when it comes time to, make a hard decision. And it's, hopefully, like you said, that should be the process. Go to them. If we can get them to take a pay cut, take a pay cut. Probably not likely, like you said. Then maybe we just, extend them for a year, drop both, at least under $20 million, hopefully under 15. And then if that doesn't happen, then yes. Sorry, Grady. We have got to, do what's best for the Atlanta Falcons, not what's best for, my 8-year-old kid's favorite player. That is what has to, and honestly, the comments at this point suggest they're headed towards that. We're making another mistake of holding on to a player too long.
Yeah, it seemed like Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot had differing comments because you saw Terry Fontenot, as I said, say untouchable. You're right. Raheem Morris came out and said, hey, the value of a football player is not just what you see on the field. And to a degree, that's right. That's absolutely true. I mean, he's the heart and soul of this team. Nobody wants to see, more than us two, wants to see Grady Jarrett finally experience that postseason success we've been waiting for over the last 7 years, because he's been with us. Him and Jake Matthews are the only two guys that are still remaining from that Super Bowl team, and we would love to them. But then you also have to think about all the guys that you mentioned, the Julio Jones, the Devontae Freemans, the Matt Ryans, all these guys that we gave that money to and hung on, Deion Jones, and it didn't work out. Like, at a certain point, business does need to take precedent over your feelings for a player. And I think we're absolutely at that point with Grady Jarrett. Whether they make the right decision, we'll see. I do think it was encouraging for at least Terry Fontenot to say, because he's saying that to the entire league, he's not untouchable. Right. He is out there for trade negotiations. And I think those negotiations are indeed going to happen if they can't work something out. I hope they work something out. I want him on this team. We need help across the defensive line.
Everybody wants him on this team. The last thing
we need is another defensive lineman hole on our roster.
We want him on this team. I want him on this team. I just don't want him on this team costing us, taking up $20+ million of the salary cap. The Atlanta Falcons, more than anything in this conversation, are notorious for hanging on too long. They're a year late more so than a year early, whereas guys like Bill Belichick and the Patriots were notorious for moving off of guys or not paying guys a year early, and then they would go get paid, generally speaking, flame out, come right back to New England, and succeed at a much lower hit. We have got to start making those kind of decisions, having that kind of foresight. And hopefully it begins this offseason with a difficult conversation with Grady Jarrett.
And again, these are decisions that even without the Kirk Cousins fiasco, the $40 million cap hit we're looking on if we keep him on this roster, which we'll talk about later in the show, these are decisions that should be had, like, because you should be trying to save as much money as possible. Just like we talk about in baseball with Alex Anthopoulos, like, it's all about absolute value. Are you worth the contract that you are making? Grady Jarrett right now at over $20 million, whether Kirk Cousins was on this roster or not, is not worth over $20 million. And it really is. It comes down to that. In every sport, it comes down to dollars and cents, especially ones with a hard salary cap like the NFL.
And we do have Kirk Cousins, and we are cash strapped. Yeah. So this is even more. I mean, like, maybe we have a luxury where we don't want to touch his contract. Maybe we have that luxury. We certainly don't have that luxury this offseason. This is a conversation that has to happen, and clearly from at least the two comments from Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot, they are going to be had.
And coming up after the break, we are going to talk about that Kirk Cousins contract because we learned a little bit more about that. It's kind of the same stance, but we definitely need to discuss it.